in order to try and gain closeness to Allah on a night in which He has declared one night of worship to be worth more than 1,000 months of worship. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said that this is the month of Allah and it has come with Allah's mercies and blessings. He said that this is the month that is the best of all months in the eyes of Allah. Its hours are the best of hours and its days are the best of days. This is a month in which you have been invited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have been given the opportunity in this month to receive from Him His honor and His blessings. It's important then that we make sure that on each of these nights we use our breath, we use our tongue, we use our eyes, we use our hands to conduct all of the rituals which have been advised for us to do by the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Every breath during the night of Laylatul Qadr is the reward of tasbih. Every breath that you take in your sleep has the reward of worship. Every single breath. Therefore, it's a night in which we need to make sure that our hearts are clean and are free from sin and free from evil. Of course, the month of Ramadan is the month in which shaitan has been locked away. And therefore, all of the evil deeds that we find present within us, we can't just blame on shaitan. If you are going through these nights of Ramadan and you recognize that you have a problem, say for example with backbiting, this isn't a problem that you can simply blame on shaitan. Oh, shaitan made me do it and therefore I'm committing sin. No. This is something which has now been instilled in you as a disease in your heart, and this is the perfect time to get rid of it. The month of Ramadan is a month where you refresh yourselves and come out of it at the end different from at the start. Imam Kumayl said that if you go throughout the month of Ramadan and you don't notice a change after it's finished, then all you've done is starve your stomach. You've not changed at all. You've not understood the message of Ramadan. Tonight I just want to talk about adab al-majlis, the etiquettes of holding majlis and how you behave when you're in a majlis. Because we're now approaching the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen Imam Ali alayhi salam, and we need to understand how we conduct ourselves and how we truly represent the Imam in our gatherings. The first way is that we attend Majalis, we attend Husayniyah, we attend Masjid solely for the sake of serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is called sincerity. We need to have sincerity in our actions. Sincerity in Arabic being ikhlas. Our deeds will not be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without sincerity. Whether that is from the minbar, whether that is from a radud, whether that is from an individual sitting in the crowd. Any action we should do, even just by sitting in the majlis, has to be done with sincerity. If one comes into the majlis and their purpose is to be seen by others, and then they conduct all their religious actions, they make the biggest scene out of themselves, but they're not doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you really think that these actions will be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is the first thing that we need to pay attention to. The second thing is that now we have majalis in the holy month of Ramadan. It's the opportunity for blessings. So every single individual which comes must make an effort to do what? Volunteer, help out, help in the kitchen, help park the cars, make sure everything's tidy. Don't leave shoes lying about. This is one of the most important things. If we don't take care of the place of worship, okay, this is the place in which you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you don't take care of it, then you have done an act of oppression, not only towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but amongst the people around you too. Scholars used to say that if one shoe blocks the road when you come into the Husayniyah, then you've done an act of oppression to that person who has to go around it. Something as small as that. So we need to make sure we are actively involved in trying to help others and trying to help the Husayniyah and trying to further the cause of Islam as a whole. The third message, of course, the purpose of Majalis, to revive the messages of the Ahlul Bayt, whether that be Imam Hussein, whether that be Imam Ali alayhi salam. This means that we help serve the food, we do al-Tamimi, we talk about the lessons, first and foremost, the lessons and the messages that the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam sought for us to take heed of and for us to implement in our lives. The fourth etiquette of Majalis is that, of course, this month is a time where we could call it a social thing. Okay, most days we come to the Husainiya, we see friends, we see elders, we see people we don't usually see, we talk to them. This is, of course, a blessing in itself, but also opens the door to sin, unfortunately, because being in the presence of so many people can open up the doors to riba, for example, or backbiting, or talking badly about other people. So it's important and it's very serious, actually, to commit such a sin in the presence of people mourning for Abu Abdullah Hussein, or of course any of the other of the holy Imams. Don't risk the rewards of Shahr Ramadan being taken away from you because you've had the audacity to talk badly about someone. The next thing, it's quite a difficult thing to understand for some people, but it's the importance of not just listening and then being passive or not paying attention. Don't just come and listen to the majlis and go on your phone and not listen to what the Sheikh is saying and then eat your khuzi and then go home. It's just a normal day for you. You've not actually done anything. You've not gained any reward. You've not learned. You've not benefited. That's a scary thing that you dedicate so many hours and it's gone to waste. So make sure that you're paying attention. Even if it gets to the point where you have to bring a notepad and make notes about what the Sheikh is saying or what you've learned from someone sitting beside you, write it down. Learn from it. Teach it to your family when you go home. Some of you have families sitting at home and you come to the majlis and you don't teach them anything about what you learned. You've got family, you've got children that you need to raise in the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. So make sure that any lesson that you get, you pass it on to people. Of course, there's another point with this, which is that you shouldn't disrupt the majlis. For example, if someone is reading Quran, if someone is reading Dua, if someone is giving a lecture, why do we sit and talk to other people? The punishment that you get from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, when you speak over a narration or a hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, from the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, speaking over that for your own little chit-chat, or speaking over the Quran. There are narrations which I can't get into because I'm not qualified, but I've read them and it's scary, the punishment that you can receive for doing such a thing. So it's important always when the Quran, whether a hadith, or whether even just a lecture is being told, that you pay your utmost attention and you don't talk to people around you and disrupt the majlis. The next thing, of course, attend the majlis in a state of wudu, not just physical wudu, but mental wudu as well. Purify yourself. When you're in the majlis, do istighfar, read Quran, as well as general dhikr, remembering the Aim and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, at the end of the day. Another etiquette which we must mention is to encourage the family and friends to participate, benefit the youth. We have a lot of young people, a lot of young children, and it's a shame for them to just sit and play amongst themselves and have no idea of what's going on. We should involve them. We should hold kids clubs for them. We should involve them in the lectures. We should have fun with them, get them to be involved. Otherwise, it's just playtime for them. Of course, it's important for them to play. This is what shapes their future. If you tell them to be quiet during the majlis, then they'll just think of the majlis as a place for boredom. They'll think of it as something they don't enjoy. So let them play, but also involve them and teach them. Don't make it a session with no purpose for them. Another thing we must do is not take our salat lightly. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said that the one who takes his prayer lightly is not from his followers. Imagine not being from the followers of Rasulullah. It must mean that every time the call to prayer is made, you must be the first one to stand up, to put the prayer mats down, to put the turbas down, and go and hasten to salah. It's in the adhan itself. And the last point is to treat the majlis of the Ahlul Bayt as if it was, for example, a funeral of your own mother or father. Why do I say something like that? Because if everyone in here, imagine that this majlis today is the funeral for your own mother. And you see some people sitting giggling and laughing and talking and joking around and playing. Would you accept such a thing for your own mother or your own father? No. So why would you then accept for you to do that in the majlis of the Ahlul Bayt? Someone who is right is 100 times greater than your own parents. We can't take it lightly. We take it for granted. We wouldn't act this way in the haram of Imam Ali alayhi salam, so we shouldn't do it in a majlis for him. Quickly, just before Adhan, I want to talk very quickly about the martyrdom anniversary, which is today, of Shaheed Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr. One of the things that a lot of people don't know about Shaheed Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr is that he was actually buried 4 times. The first time he was buried by the Colonel Saddam's regime, and the only people who knew about it were Saddam's few men at the top and one man who dug the grave called Abbas Balash. Okay. During the Iran-Iraq war, one of Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr's students called Kumayl, he went to the graveyard in Wadi Salam, and he managed to track down Abbas Balash, and he said to him, "Can you please tell me where Shaheed Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr is buried? No one knows except you and a few of Saddam's men." Now during the war, they know that Shaheed Sadr supports Imam Khomeini, so they're going to go and dig his body out and do whatever to it. So we need to move it. So Abbas Balash said, "Okay, I'll take you to his grave." Kamil immediately, he went to the Maraja and he asked them permission. "Can I take his body out of the ground and move it?" They said, "Okay." So he moved it. Then came the 1991 war, the Gulf War. Again, Saddam's regime had found out where the burial place was, the new burial place. And he was going to dig Shaheed Sadr out of his own grave to make an example out of him. So again, it was consulted and they moved his body again. You know, when they took his body out of the grave, it was fresh. The body hadn't decomposed. There was a bullet wound on his forehead, the back of his neck had been cut open, his beard had been burnt with fire, he had 3 stab wounds on his back, and this is just what happened to him, never mind what happened to his sister in Taboola. But his body was fresh. It was as if though he just died a few moments ago. So, for the last time he was buried, and they bought land for him to be buried in, and they created the mausoleum they had today. Of course, the one message that Shaheed al-Sadr said on his deathbed was, he said, "Melt in Imam Khomeini just like Imam Khomeini melted in Islam." It's not me saying this, Shaheed Muhammad al-Sadr. Learn from the words of such a great man and follow in his footsteps, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.